Therma hire conservative lobbyists 3 months before this was even done. They also, the other thing that talks about this being, shows that this is probably a rigged process, is that there was a deadline for applications, in response to the RFP. They extended the deadline. One of the late applicants, who do you think it was? Therma. Yeah, good guess, Therma, right? Okay, and it's the same. There's another thing, and last week the NDP, we received a document through a Freedom of Information request, and that document talked about an obligation that this government had made to build a parking garage, that $450 million taxpayer-funded, subsidized parking garage that we're building, that our tax dollars are going to build this parking garage that we do not want, that we do not need.
We don't need it.
So it's shameful. It's absolutely shameful the way this government's been behaving. That this government is corrupt, and I think the corruption extends to their plan for Ontario Place, and we need to stop it. We need to stop this. The government is backtracking.
It's not just the colder weather. There is something happening in the province of Ontario. Is that right? A shift is in what is possible when it comes to this provincial government. There's been some reeling and some reconsidering. Have we all heard it? Yeah. And we are going to seize that when it comes to protecting Ontario Place. Thanks to the work of MPP Glover and his team, they have revealed even more questionable closed-door decisions about Ontario Place's redevelopment, even more than we always knew, and that is such important work. Can we give it up for them? Yeah. And thanks to you, each and every one of you, with your neighbors and your friends, with your presence on the ground, with the work you've been doing online, reaching people that you know, decision makers in every part of the city, in every part of the province. You've kept up the pressure, and that is incredible. You have kept up the pressure for a better way forward when it comes to the future of Ontario Place, one that is green, one that is public, and one that is for all of us. And I have made a commitment to you that we will use every lever we have to save Ontario Place, to save our trees, and to save this for future generations, and we are not quitting yet. Yeah. Every single alternative needs to be looked at for this water park and spa that has shown repeatedly and continues to that it does not belong on our waterfront. Yeah. Exhibition Place has shown the potential to be a more appropriate alternate location worth exploring. People have raised that in speculation over the past many months. And my request today is to move forward on a preliminary feasibility assessment of using Exhibition Place for the Therma facility. Yeah. Because throughout this application process, we have said there is another way. Ontario Place can be revitalized through a transparent and more democratic process, through a better idea, many better ideas, and this is one of them. We are open, we are doing the work, and we are calling on the province to be just as open and just as willing as we are, aren't we? So I want to thank you for your energy, for your care, for your thoughtfulness, for your presence here today. And we have gotten so many communications from supporters across the city and every part of the province, and let's keep going. Thank you for bringing your voice to City Hall, and I am with you. Let's make sure that we keep fighting for a public, a green, and accessible Ontario Place for all of us. And together, I know we can keep moving forward and we can win. Thank you.
Thank you to Deputy Mayor Ausma Malik. You know, she mentioned that she's received a bunch of letters from us. You want to know how many letters we have sent as a collectively? 35,000 letters. I just had a look yesterday. That's a staggering number. You know, we're here on Halloween, and I saw a costume somewhere in the crowd, and thank you, that's great in the spirit. You know, putting a giant mega spa at Ontario Place is indeed scary. It'll be dead scary for over 100 species of birds that use the waterfront as a migratory bird runways and a place to live and as a rest point. It'll be scary for 1,500 trees that have to be cut down imminently. And it's going to be scary for taxpayers who have to pay over $500 million to make it work at Ontario Place. That's scary stuff. Doug Ford, don't trick us with this mega spa. Treat us by moving this mega spa someplace else. No, we are totally not. We are here to fight. Today at City Hall, this government's going to consider moving this mega spa to an alternative location. By moving this mega spa almost anywhere else, you're saving a lot of things. The first thing you'll save is over 1,500 trees. These are mature trees, master planned and planted by architect Michael Huff, home to over 100 species of bird and animal. Do we want to lose those 50-year-old climate-fighting trees? No! That's right, no. What do we want City Hall to do? Save our trees! Save our trees! Save our trees! Save our trees! Save, let's try a new one. Pine trees, not palm trees. 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 By moving the mega spa, you'll save taxpayers over $500 million.
All of these pieces depend on each other, right? So there's the piece around Ontario Place.
It could hire 7,500 nurses for a year. It would keep closing emergency rooms open, create thousands of long-term beds. Wouldn't we rather have those public goods than a mega spa that will destroy our beloved Ontario Place?
So each of these pieces is
let's chant it with me. Trees, yes. Mega spa, no. 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 By moving the mega spa, we no longer need a massive underground, underwater parking garage to service Ontario Place.
This is the
second
last item and the last major one. Right now we're just on the mayor's first item, which is the housing. So it will be a little bit later. We still have about 10 people, so a good hour for that. And then there's a few speakers on the waterfront LRT, and then it'll be this,
So I should come in probably
maybe
in an hour.
I would say so. Yeah, to be safe, and we have folks here who will message you if anything goes quicker. But yeah.
Just in thinking about the parking garage, which I'm actually talking about.
Beautiful pebble beach that was planned by Michael Huff.
They talk about 2,100 parking spaces.
Is a giant glass mega spa wrecking those things in Ontario Place wellness?
Encompasses 500 parking spaces.
So, we are here to tell the government what wellness is. And wellness is not a mega spa. Wellness is having a beautiful place for us, our children, and our children's children to enjoy for many generations.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for speaking. And one of the things I'm going to speak about is the need of swimmers, because for people with medical and physical health needs,
Of course.
they need their access to the water.
Steve, did you want to say a few words?
Yes.
Okay, here's Steve from Swim Ontario Place.
Hello. My name's Steve Mann. I'm a professor at University of Toronto, and I'm also a member of Swim OP, Swim Op, as in, photo op or whatever. OP stands for Ontario Place, swimop.com. And for us, water access is really important. It's not just like another place. There's very limited water access downtown Toronto, and it is downtown Toronto's only beach. It's the only beach within the downtown urban core. And it's very important to us because this is water access. For many of us who don't have time, we're on a busy schedule. We swim almost every day year round, and we need access to the water downtown. We don't have time to go out to Cherry Beach or Woodbine or Sunnyside. I also have a disability due to a back injury, so I can't get across the sand very easily. And so for many of us with a disability who are using a mobility aid such as a walker or any kind of device like that, the pebbles make it accessible. It's really Toronto's only accessible beach. And it's right in the heart of downtown Toronto. Our only other choices are really Cherry Beach and Sugar Beach. But many of us swim at Cherry Beach and Sugar Beach when Ontario Place is closed, but those beaches are less than ideal. One of them is right next to a sugar factory. I'm sure the water there is not as clean. The swim guide lists it in their swimming beaches as not less than ideal. So I hope we can save Ontario Place Michael Huff Beach and save Michael Huff Forest. And so many of us are going inside to talk. We all appreciate Olivia Chow. Olivia Chow came down and paddled with us on a number of occasions. Let's have a big round of applause for all the work that Olivia Chow has done. And a big round of applause for all the work that Ausma Malik has also done. And they've both been very strong supporters of oh, there we go. So they've both been strong supporters in Olivia and Ausma, we trust. So please join us for a swim if you don't already. Swim year-round. It's got many health benefits. I've never tried cocaine, but a lot of people say that it's actually, the cold water is actually better in terms of a stimulus to kind of get you going. And interestingly, a lot of former drug users have switched to cold water. So
do we want a natural beach in Ontario Place?
Yes.
Do we want an sewage beach in Ontario Place, which is what they're proposing?
No. So let's just say, what shall we do with Premier Doug Ford? What shall we do with Premier Doug Ford? What shall we do with Premier Doug Ford? Early in the morning, make him give back that Greenbelt money. Make him give back that Greenbelt money. Make him give back that Greenbelt money. Early in the morning. Okay, thank you. Hope to see lots of you inside.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. All right, well, I'm going to ask the question again. Do we want a natural beach in Ontario Place?
Yes.
Do we want a giant glass mega spa to wreck it and everything else there? Do we want a beach that's right next to the sewage outflow at Ontario Place, which is what they're proposing? No. All right, so what do we want to tell Therme? We want to tell them, hey, hey, ho, ho. Therme Spa has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Therme Spa has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Therme Spa has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Therme Spa has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Therme Spa has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Therme Spa has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Therme Spa has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Therme Spa has got to go. Whose Ontario Place is it? Our Ontario Place. Whose trees?
Our trees.
Whose public space?
Our public space.
Whose trees?
Our trees.
Whose natural beach?
Our beach.
Whose science center?
Our science center.
Whose public land for 95 years? Our public land. When 850 trees are under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back. When public space is under attack, what do?
We fight back.
That's right. Science Center is under attack, what do?
Fight back.
When West Island is under attack, what do?
Fight back.
When birds and animals are under attack, what do?
We fight back.
That's right. Trees, yes. Mega spa, no. 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 All right, I've been warming up your voices. You all sound great. Give yourselves an awesome round of applause. It's up to you guys, but I had this crazy idea. Do we want to go over to Bay Street and show some signs and see if we can get some cars to give us a little honk?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. So everybody, if you want to grab a sign, we have some signs left. If you don't want to take it home, you can totally get it back afterwards, but why don't we march over to Bay Street if we all think that makes sense, and have them hear us over there. I'll bring our megaphones along. Thank you everybody for coming today. I hope to see some of you inside. We'll be inside doing some delegations. I'm not too sure when the item's coming up, but it'll be this afternoon. But in the meantime, let's make everybody on Bay Street hear us. Thank you.
We are on our last item, and it is about Therme. It generates a lot of interest here. I have a speakers list. I just need to do a check on time. Who has to leave? I think Councillor Matlow has to left already. Those that have young kids, you have to leave at 5. You too. So Sorry to crunch everybody. We just have a lot of items. Apology. Starting with Darryl Brown. Darryl, here you are. Thank you for waiting. You've been here for a long time. The CEO of Canadian National Exhibition. We're ready.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and enjoy a day at City Hall. I guess I'd start by saying that it's wonderful to have things that are shiny and new, but not necessarily at the expense of things that are tried and true. The Canadian National Exhibition Association's been around for 144 years. And, you know, we quite recently had some very dark days during COVID. It was a real struggle. We had laid off most of our staff. The senior people, including myself, took salary reductions to sort of scratch and claw our way through those dark days to get to the point of getting to putting on a 2022 CNE. And wow, did we put on a 2022 CNE. The economic impact that came out of that fair was over $142 million to the province, over $112 million to the city. 45% of the people traveled into the GTA and spent $108 million here. As usual, we employed about 5,000 people, and 78% were of the direct hires were ethnically diverse, 15% were people with disabilities. And when we look at the 2023 fair, there was even higher numbers with over 1.6 million people attending. And on top of that, even spending more than in 2022, we're in the midst of preparing an economic impact assessment for 2023. What we do know is we had 3.9 billion media impressions across those 18 days. And on top of that, there were over 5,200 news stories. We had over 1,200 accredited media in attendance. The message is that the public really considers this CNE to be an important aspect of life here in the GTA. So we were quite happy to achieve some level of stability, but that doesn't mean there aren't challenges that we're facing. And we've always been adaptable, and there's been a number of changes over the years. And if I were to list the changes since the BOG came on board in 1983, it would be too long for the time I have to speak. But, you know, for example, in 2012, we had restrictions placed on us at Marilyn Bell. In 2014, we had restrictions placed on us in the Water Channel, even though we've been programming the Water Channel since the 1890s. With the Phase 2 hotel development that was approved in 2008, the redesign ended up doubling the footprint so that we're losing 360,000 square feet of programmable space. That is a $2.6 million hit per annum on our budget lines. So frankly, when we heard the statement on September 22nd that there was consideration of thermes coming onto Exhibition Place at the Better Living Center, it was kind of a gut punch to our staff and to certainly the senior people working on the CNE. We usually take hold of the BLC on April 1 of every year. It houses our charity casino, which is a significant revenue source. It houses our farm, and sometimes we do alternate programming there as well. On top of that, we proposed on several occasions to the Board of Governors of X Place that we lease the Better Living Center year-round and program it year-round to meet their 365-day objective of having programming, and also to take us back to a time when we did more programming on site year-round. We believe that could be a mutually beneficial arrangement. We proposed it in 2018, we proposed it in 2021. There's been some difficulty because, you know, I know CEO Don Boyle had said, well, that we haven't seen a business case, but we also haven't been told what the lease terms might be, what the cost parameters could be to present a valid business case that covers all aspects of cost. We still believe it's a viable alternative. To lose 200,000 square feet of programmable space would have a devastating effect on our programming. We are opposed to a feasibility study for thermals on site. We are opposed to thermals being on site in any way, shape, or form. We believe we should work symbiotically, promoting our best interests, promoting the Board of Governors' best interests, and the city's best interests. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the speaker? Deputy Mayor McKelvey, and then
Thank you. Is it a heritage building?
I believe it's classed as heritage, and there's a bit of an irony here that people may not know, but all of these mid-20th century buildings were actually paid for by the CNEA. Debentures were issued by the city, but it was the CNEA that paid for these buildings. And when the changeover occurred to the Board of Governors managing the site, we managed the site for the first 103 years, I think it was assumed that there would be allocation and protection for C&E on site. And we've seen a gradual deterioration over time of access to facilities. I believe it's classed as heritage, and I believe that presents an issue in and of itself.
And it generates revenue for you that goes towards your bottom line?
Absolutely. There's also infrastructure there. There's a pretty intricate camera setup for our casino, which we keep the wiring in place all year round, even though it only operates basically from mid-July through the C&E period. But it is a substantial source of revenue that offsets some of our other programming costs.
If you were to do a feasibility study, would you be able to turn that around for December 5th? It's in a month.
If we were to do a feasibility study on alternate uses for the Better Living Center?
On citing therm there, yeah.
We're opposed to a feasibility study altogether for thermals. We don't believe that that should be something that should be promoted at all. However, we can definitely present a business case that would provide revenue to the city and actively program that site year-round with us managing the Better Living Center.
But if asked to do the feasibility study, like...
Well, it wouldn't be us doing it. It would be, presumably, it would be the city planning, and I would assume the Board of Governors of Exhibition Place. We would provide input.
Okay.
But it was somebody else carrying the ball.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Ainsley.
Thank you. Daryl, can you just explain a bit about, so if the spa went into the Better Living Center, what are your alternatives on the grounds for that usable space?
Well, that's a good question because, as you know, the farm is typically there. We would have to look elsewhere, but part of the problem is losing that additional 360,000 square feet of programmable space due to the Phase 2 hotel. We already have to move a substantial portion of what normally resides on site during the fair outside of the C&E, which is going to increase our costs substantially. And if like the farm programming is an educational program, it doesn't generate revenue, but the Midway generates revenue, for example. So we have to balance what is revenue generating versus what is educational, what is arts, what's cultural. We don't see an obvious place for where these things can go.
Okay, and if I look at the C&E, like the footprint of it 10 years ago, there's a number of buildings on the grounds I can think of. You know, Rico Coliseum, I know that was used at one time. Liberty Grand, what I always called the Flower Building, Horticulture Building.
Horticultural Building,
has
yes.
a nightclub in it now. Yeah. So the footprint has been reduced of your viable buildings that you could use if you didn't have the Better Living Center.
Absolutely. The Horticultural Building, Liberty Grand, Medieval Times, those have all gone by the wayside, to name a few. We still program the Coliseum. It's very difficult for us. We do technically have access to BMO Field, but the restrictions placed on use are such that it's not financially viable. It costs us about $100,000 to cover the field if we're going to do anything there before we do any programming at all. So technically we have access to BMO, but it's not like the old stadium. So yes, we've lost a substantial footprint already.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Chow.
Mayor Malik.
Very much. Good to see you, Daryl and Suzanne as well. Thank you for your presentation. And we have, through the chair, we have spoken before and have affirmed and reassured that this preliminary feasibility assessment at the very high level will prioritize CNEA's core uses and the strategic plans, the development work that you have put forward and that we know is important to the future of Exhibition Place as well. You're aware of that?
I am aware of it. I just believe that even raising the issue of a feasibility study lends credibility to a concept that is defective at the outset.
Councillor Carroll?
I'm just wondering if we take if this became a terms of reference, it's part of the proposal here, but I would assume it becomes a term of reference. Any consideration of citing the Thermae water spa facility at Exhibition Place would need to comment on alignment with key Exhibition Place plans such as the strategic plan and phase 1 proposals report, the core uses of Exhibition Place, and thereby I would assume that means the core uses of the Better Living Center and the operations of key tenants and event organizers of Exhibition Place such as the CNE. If that's a term of reference, is a feasibility study kind of a waste of money?
Well, it's very difficult for me to envision a situation where the conclusion would be anything but turning down Thermaes if we're factoring in what the needs are of our organization, for example.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. No other question? Next speaker, Gil Panosa, and then Debbie Sona. Are you online? Calling 1, 2, 3, will come back. Anyone online? Debbie Sona? Alpha Klein? Oh, Gil is here.
Hello?
There you are. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hello? Hello?
Go ahead. We can hear you.
This is Gil. Yeah, Gil is here.
Yep. Go start. You have 5 minutes. Ready to hear from you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Mayor Chow and Executive Committee. Of course, I fully support the idea of Councillor Ausma Malik of moving the spa. I think that I wish that 8 years ago, the city had done a master plan for all of Ontario Place and Exhibition Place so that Premier Ford would not have come with such a crazy idea as doing a spa. From my point of view, I think that there should never be a spa in public space. I think it doesn't make any sense. I think I could think of 100 things more important to do on a public space than a spa. However, the province owns some land, so they can do some things. Also, I think ideally, why are we in this mess? Because the mayor and councillors who were there in the last term in 2019 did not stop it. At that time, it would have been so much easier when Premier Ford started thinking about it. If people had said, no, we need to protect the waterfront, we need to protect Ontario Place. But the mayor was fully supportive. The mayor was next to Premier Ford when they opened the tender, when they provided the winners, and throughout the process, in all of the photos, the two of them are together, and almost every councillor, most councillors, if not all, stood silent, mute, and allowed this process to continue. It would have been so much easier if at that time, this same solution could have been provided. When I ran for mayor last year, I proposed this. I said, the city owns these acres in the parking lot of Exhibition Place. Let's switch. Let's switch the province. They can have the spa on this parking lot of the Exhibition Place, and the waterfront will be 100% city owned. I think that makes a lot of sense. On the one hand, if it was going to be a spa, I don't think it's a spa, I think it's a casino. But if it was going to be a spa, the spa would still have waterfront view because Exhibition Place is higher than Ontario Place. Also, through architecture, they could make it even higher. So they would have a spa with waterfront view and subway, GO train, streetcars, gigantic parking. In addition, I proposed in the campaign, and I still propose, let's do a 150-meter wide bridge over the lakeshore. It's very inexpensive because it will not be for cars, it will be only for people walking and cycling. So imagine the connectivity. We would connect both, everything that is happening. If you are gonna go to an event at BMO Field or at the spa, you can go and have a picnic in the park on the waterfront and then go to the event or vice versa. It would be a complete connectivity. And also for all of the people, the thousands and thousands of people that live north of it, all of those would finally be connected to the waterfront because also is an area that has very few green spaces. So in conclusion, I think that ideally no spa. But if we're going to have a spa, let's put it on the parking lot. Let's switch the land. Let's make it a win-win. But also, I think that we should demand from the province to see the contract of the lease. This cannot be secret. Every Torontonian is also Ontarian. We're not talking about national defense. We're talking about some water slides and some water spa. So we need to see why 95 years. Any such development is always the return should be done within 10, 15, no more than 20 years. Never 95. Why 95? Because the end game is a casino. All of the numbers of the spa do not make any sense. So it will go broke in 3 or 4 years. And then who's going to take over that gigantic place? Oh my God, the casinos, they're doing no such favor. They take over over the place and they have a 95-year lease. They have over 2,000 car parking. The premier would never be able to do the car parking for a casino, but he did it for a spa. So the end game is rotten. So I think that we should demand to see the contract. We must see the contract and make it public. So I fully support the proposal to do the spa and have a park on the waterfront. And one last thing, I think the best large urban projects in Canada are being done by Waterfront Toronto. I think it would be ideal. The federal government, the provincial government, and the city are the owners of Waterfront Toronto. It would be ideal if they take over.
Okay, thank you so much. Don't know what happened there. Debbie Sona, you have 5 minutes, Debbie.
Thank you very much, Mayor Chow, Executive Committee, and hardworking City of Toronto staff. I really appreciate all your hard work in the last few months. You're all amazing. It's been several years that I have not felt hopeful for our city, and I really appreciate all the hard work that you've all done together. It's been so long that City Hall has not worked together. I can't tell you how impressed and proud I am of all of you. Truly, from the heart.
Thank you.
Sincerely. I came to Canada with my family in '76 as political refugees from Chile. And you have blown me away. Good work, keep it up. I've been listening all day before this deputation, and I have to say my mom was a single mom, dealt with many mental health issues, bipolar, manic depressive, low income. We went to food banks, and you're all doing incredible work and helping those who need it most in our city, and they've needed help for so long. Please keep up the great work. Ontario Place. So coming with very little money from another country, another continent, it was a mecca. We could go with very little money, a picnic lunch, play all day, it really felt like Treasure Island in effect. Now, as a parent of 3 children on one income, a family of 5, we could also do the same. Many years later, pack a lunch, play all day, and it was awesome. My children were heartbroken when it closed down. And as I grew older, we live in Ward 4. We were able to even bike there and bike back. My husband would meet us after work, help me get the kids back up the big steep hills. And it was awesome. It's just such a beautiful treasure that we can't afford to lose. I applaud Deputy Mayor Malik for her motion, her idea. I don't think we should give up the Better Living building. Perhaps Mr. Penaloza's idea of the parking lot isn't bad. It would preserve the waterfront for all. 52 years ago, when Ontario Place was built, it was promised to be public forever. 52 years is not forever. We need to ensure that generations from now will continue to be able to enjoy Ontario Place. Not everyone has cottages. Not everyone can go away on vacation. Our lakeshore is a treasure. It needs to be enjoyed, preserved by everyone. If we let Ford build his mega parking lot, it's going to ruin our lakeshore. It's going to ruin part of Toronto. Who knows what those waters are going to do? Let's not take the chance. One of the dads earlier who deputed mentioned Woodbine. I grew up near the airport. That's a perfect place to put this silly spa. The highway is right there. There's tons of parking. Their maid would do wonderfully up there. There's so much space. Leave the waterfront to those who want to enjoy it. You can put a silly spa anywhere. Not the waterfront, not our beautiful Toronto. Leave Ontario Place to those who appreciate it and revere it. Ed Ziegler worked so hard to design such a beautiful place. I visited 2 weeks ago. I snuck in, the fence was open. I was devastated to see that 90% of it has been demolished. I would assume that no one at the City of Toronto gave them a permit to demolish. I know that for a fact. There were pallets and pallets of building materials. I know that you haven't given them building permits. They have erected that humongous boards, fencing, so that we can't see what they're doing. There are more than 1,500 mature trees that are going to be massacred. There are more than 50 different animals that count on Ontario Place for
Debbie,
their habitat.
can you wrap up? Your 5 minutes is almost up.
Mayor Chow, I am. Thank you. They need, that's their home. We need them for our eco life in Ontario, in Toronto. Please help us save Ontario Place.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. Our next speaker, actually, Mr. Mann, you are on the walker. I see you had a sore back. You would notice that Councillor Carroll and I stands up from time to time, and so does our city managers, because we all have bad back. That's why we stand from time to time. So you're not alone. We could assist you. Ah, okay, good. I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, a little higher is good. Yeah, perfect. Hello,
Jolene, we can hear you. Yep, it's pretty good, Mike.
Okay, hello, my name is Steve Mann, and I first just want to give a big thanks to Olivia Chow and to Ausma Malik for all the hard work they've done to really work at Ontario Place. I know both of them love Ontario Place. They've both come out many times in support. our Swim OP efforts. And so I just want to say thank you for this excellent support. And we swim there year round. This is a little bit of winter swimming. And for many of us, it's almost a medical necessity. Like it's not just recreation. It's like we need this place because it provides us with this much needed cold water immersion. Many of us do cold water immersion year round to ease back pain and so on. This is a January swim, January 14th of this year. And you can see the crystal clear waters here that we don't have anywhere else in the city. When Ontario Place is closed, well, this is the beach here. You know, you can see in the left there, that's Michael Hoff Beach. And when it's closed, we have, the only other places we have are, there's really only 3 beaches in the downtown core. This orange shaded area is City of Toronto's own map. This shows that there's only 3 beaches. There's Michael Hoff Beach, there's HTO Beach, and Sugar Beach. And within the downtown core, for many of us who are on tight time schedules to rush in for our swim and rush back, it's a daily exercise. We need that space. We can't go a long distance. Some of us have disabilities and can't travel long distance or can't get across sand. But for all of us, it's an urgent need for access to the lake that's close to downtown that we can get to. And when I look, comparatively speaking, Michael Hoff Beach, as you see on the left, is this beautiful beach. The alternatives are like Sugar Beach, which has a broken access ladder that's all twisted and gnarled. When we swim at Sugar Beach, this is what we're swimming right beside that ship there. And the water is less than ideal. People do hear of the Sugar Beach and they come to swim, or hear of HTO Beach, and they come there to swim because everybody wants to go to the beach, and they bring their bathing suits and towels, and this is what they meet when they go to climb out of the water, is these twisted and broken ladders. And so when we jump in the water there, it's harder to get out, especially for people with arthritis or the elderly with less grip strength, especially in winter swimming when it's 0-degree water. It's often grip strength is reduced. And so there's a need, when we look at the alternative beaches, there's really a need for this very, very nice beach, Michael Hoff Beach. And so it's very, very important to us for a variety of reasons to have this fresh, clean water. I mean, if you just look at how beautiful that beach is, that whole island, Michael Hoff Forest, that's much nicer than Sugar Beach where you're swimming beside these ships, to be honest with you. And this is really our only, what I would call a beach, because I don't really think of this. To me, it's called a beach, but that doesn't quite look like a beach to me if you compare this with this. And this is safe, easy getting in and out of the pebbles. There's no sand, so it's easy to get in and out for those with disabilities, for everybody. It's just very beneficial. Crystal clear water. There's no cleaner water in all of Toronto than there. It's really the best place, and it's a place of scientific interest and research interest. I call it Teach Beach because we go there we do lectures there and presentations. We've had Water HCI all around the world. We meet there from people all over the world doing water research. It's our research lab. It's a sort of physical facility where we do a lot of our work. And my daughter, when she was 5 years old, came up with this design for a spa and science center at Ontario Place back in 2011. And we presented this at the Water HCI 2011 to the Waterfront Toronto and a bunch of other people, this design for a spa science center. And what she designed is water slides going down into the lake. She's got a window down in the basement that looks out into the lake to see the fish. She's got hot tubs floating in the lake. And you can jump off the roof into the lake. It's really connecting people to the lake. That was what she wanted to do. And we thought, when we first heard a spa at Ontario Place, we thought, this is a great idea. This is fantastic. And warm up in the sauna and swim in the lake. But the Therme proposal is the exact opposite. It isolates people from the lake. And in this way, it's a danger to our freshwater supply. It's really a dangerous proposal at a national level because It threatens, it disconnects people from the lake, and turning our back on our drinking water is the worst poison for it.
Sorry, you have to wrap up.
Okay, and you can
Dr.
see
Mann?
52 years of Pebbles, no maintenance, zero maintenance, city records, perfect. Just, there's no need to do anything. It's just perfect the way it is, or at least fix up all the buildings, but it doesn't need an underwater parking garage to fix these Pebbles. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a lot of speakers. I have a bit of a problem. I'll tell you why. We will lose quorum. We need 6 people for quorum. Councillor Morley has to leave at 5:45. We need about 10 minutes to deal with this item. So I go backwards. So probably somewhere in the next half an hour, we need to finish the deputations. Can I see a show of hands how many people want to speak? Your hands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many need to speak online? Do we have anyone online? Just 1. Okay, we will be okay. I was going to move it to 3 minutes, but we are still fine. As long as we finish all the speeches by 5:30, because we will lose quorum, which will not be helpful. Next person, and maybe we could help move that thing down. You don't worry about it, we'll do it. Alpha Klein? No, you're here. Mary French, Anne Forbath, Barbara Burgess, come on up. Steve Evans, Anna Gorka, come on up. You can move the candies beside you and introduce your name and yep.
Good afternoon.
Button, go for it. Yes, we can hear you. Go for it, 5 minutes.
Thanks for the council for taking the time to hear me. I'm going to read this as quickly as possible. It's going to be about 5 minutes. My name is Stephen Evans. I'm a Toronto resident of Ward 8. I'm a retired architectural photographer, and as some of you may know, I recently published a book about Ontario Place. I'm here today to endorse Deputy Mayor Malik's sensible and viable alternative to relocate the Therm Mega Spa away from Ontario Place, and I'm also here to tell you why. There are plenty of reasons to dislike the government's and Therma's plan for Ontario Place, but with the few minutes I have, I want to tell you about a profound experience I had recently, an experience that drove home an important reason for me to speak to you today. Please bear with me, I will get to the point. About a month ago, my wife and I took our nephew from Winnipeg on a whirlwind tour of downtown Toronto. We didn't have much time, we showed him a bit of the urban core, and then we pressed on to visit Ontario Place. We had a great walk around, he loved it, and was incredulous when we told him the possible future for West Island as a privately owned pay-as-you-go mega spa. As we circled back to return to the city, we crossed the West Channel Bridge from where I could see a woman shuffling along the boardwalk below, as if she were in a catatonic state. She was naked, with only underpants on. I immediately bolted across the bridge and around the back of the west entrance along the edge of the North Marina. As I arrived, I saw the woman standing at the edge of the dock, shivering with her soaking wet clothes on the ground beside her. She just stood there staring ahead, shivering. Recognizing that help was needed, my wife and nephew alerted security and the police and ambulance were called. I approached the young woman slowly and asked if she was all right. She didn't reply. She was wet and cold and said nothing. I began to ask her questions as gently as possible. Are you all right? What's your name? Is there anybody here with you? Do you think you need help? She continued staring ahead and then plaintively replied to me with a question. Do you see me? Do you see me? My heart sank, but I quickly replied, yes, I can see you. Over the next 20 minutes or so, I managed to get her first name, but mostly she just kept asking me, can you see me? I replied, yes, I can see you, and I will try to help you. After what seemed like forever, the police arrived and attempted to interview her. I stayed close by as she continued to ask the same question. Can you see me? Somehow the police managed to get her last name and quickly determine where she lived. In the meantime, we stood there waiting for an ambulance to arrive. Another seemingly eternal wait, the young woman suddenly began to foam at the mouth. No ambulance. So the police decided to take her into custody and reassured her that they would take her to a hospital. She quietly acquiesced and entered the squad car, which quickly sped across the empty parking lots into the traffic-jammed lanes of Lakeshore Boulevard West. And to my knowledge, no ambulance ever arrived. As my wife, my nephew, and I turned to make our way back downtown, I suddenly realized that this all took place no more than 50 yards from the site of the $500 million underground parking garage to be built as part of the overall plan for the new mega spa. $500 million spent on an underground parking lot. While this city and so many other Ontario towns and cities face such huge social and health issues, homelessness, medical systems starving for funding, educational systems struggling just to provide basics, a hemorrhaging mental health crisis, $500 million for an underground parking garage, $500 million. It is to me and so many others a completely shameful, immoral enterprise. And so to conclude, and I know this probably sounds pie in the sky, I'm asking you, the leaders of our city and all the leaders of the cities and towns in Ontario, regardless of the outcome of this mega spa boondoggle, to gather up the courage to call out the provincial government, to ask on our behalf, do you see us? Do you see us? Because we can see you. We can see your willful neglect of care. We can see your hiding behind closed doors, helping line the pockets of the wealthy. We need help, not parking garages or a privately owned spa in our own public park. What we really need is for you to really see us. Thank you.
That was powerful. Thank you. Next deputant, just come straight up, introduce yourself.
First of all, thank you very much. My name is Ann Low, and I work with at the CAMH. I'd like to begin with a quote. Trees for the Future City of Toronto. The advocacy program inaugurated in spring 2000. Trees with their health, economic, and environmental benefits are the lifeline of our city. Close quote. I believe this should be very familiar to many of you since it sits on the wall of this very building. My question to our esteemed committee is, how did we arrive here 23 years after the inauguration of this vision at this sorry state where we have to debate whether thermal deserves a place at the waterfront in Ontario Place? I do not need to dwell on the economic benefits since earlier speakers have already talked about the $5 million that has to come out of your pocket and my pocket. That speaks in itself of its economic viability. Next, the environment. 1,500 trees will be decimated to make way for the mega spa. Trees and water, which are now habitat to ducks, foxes, birds, will be destroyed. What's appalling in all of this is that the thermal spa does not need access to the water or the land at Ontario Place. In short, the mega spa is out of sync with its time and definitely out of place. The mega spa puts Canada at odds with global efforts to reduce carbon footprint amidst the ongoing climate crisis. Worst of all, the mega spa on the waterfront meant removing private, or rather public access and reducing private access. Which brings me to the health benefits. As a resident of Liberty Village, I can say that if the waterfront wasn't there for us to run to, some of us might just have to seek help at the mental hospital further up the road. The thermal project has no place at the waterfront. It is utterly untenable and ultimately unsustainable. I ask Toronto Council to hold your vision that you have downstairs on the plug. Please advocate for us, and I support the motion to move the mega spa to the exhibition place. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. The other speaker, step up, please.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Julia Sasso. I'm a resident of Bloor and Ossington area. And I came here to support Councillor Malik's motion to do a feasibility study for the siting of the Therma Spa at the CNE, but now I'm not so sure, because not even the CNE wants this thing. So I'm just going to continue with the other thoughts that I've cobbled together, and a lot of them come from an article by Kate Allen in the Toronto Star this week. But firstly, I'd like to say that contrary to the lies that the Minister of Infrastructure continues to spew in the Legislative Assembly and elsewhere, 2.9 million folks visited Ontario Place in 2022, and this is apart from the Budweiser stage attendees. Children need more green time. The city's natural space is shrinking. The number of children living in the downtown core has ballooned 500% in 15 years. The pace of parkland creation has not kept up. One neighborhood, a stretch between Bathurst and York Streets, south of Front Street West, where the housing consists almost entirely of high-rise condominiums, is among the least green places in the entire city. In many ways, this area is symptomatic of a citywide blight. A cascade of research in recent years has demonstrated that green spaces in cities are not a mere frill, but critical infrastructure that supports the physical, mental, and social well-being of all residents, and children in particular. Urban green spaces are also a potent defense against climate change and its metastasizing ills. Sky-high rates of climate-related anxiety show that many young people are acutely aware they will be forced to inherit this crisis. And yet, as our understanding of these benefits has grown, green space in Toronto has dropped. By using satellite data to track urban greenness over time, Statistics Canada found that Toronto's green space has shrunk significantly over the past 2 decades. As the region faces pressure to create much-needed housing, city reports warn that the amount of parkland per person risks falling further. Unplantable land covered by concrete and other impervious surfaces is expanding, a change that is often permanent. Recently, Doug Ford's provincial government introduced new housing legislation that includes a suite of changes developers advocated for and that municipalities say will mean less new parkland in the future. But as the research explodes, one thing has become clear. We should be thinking about this as a necessity for all children. That is, unstructured, free-roaming outdoor play in direct contact with nature. So important for children that the term nature deficit disorder was coined to describe its absence almost 20 years ago. Since then, studies have been published that quantify how important nature, parks, and green space are to our well-being. The benefits start early, in fact, in utero. From birth onwards, the benefits of nature keep accruing. In a study of Ontario kindergartners, children who participated in more lessons outdoors scored higher in self-regulation. Some emerging research suggests that affording access to green space to all children can help equalize the advantage gap, with low-income kids benefiting the most from these experiences. Low-income families come to Ontario Place because it's free and green. Spadina-Fort York has some of the lowest parkland per person and highest population growth. Only 340 children under age 14 lived in this area in 2006, according to the census. By 2021, there were over 2,000. When the wading pools close on September 1st, where do our children play? Parks and community centers are where community is built. In the absence of shared public space, we're nothing more than individual household units behind closed doors. The City of Toronto's 2019 Parkland strategy emphasizes that while these spaces are Integral to the well-being of residents, population growth and densification are putting pressure on the system. If no new parkland is acquired, the amount available per person will drop 14% by 2023, with the worst impacts felt in high-growth areas that are already deficient. Yes, there's a need for new housing to support the growth in population, and particularly affordable housing. And that's a quote by Dave Harvey, co-executive director of Park People. But these have to be part of well-built communities. If we're building communities that don't have parks or libraries or schools or critical infrastructure, we're actually building these communities to fail.
May I ask you
Let's not fail Toronto. Let's not fail Ontario. Let's not fail generations to come. If Doug Ford wants his mega spa so badly, let him have it. Let him pay for it and let him erect it just about anywhere but in the People's Park, Ontario Place. Ontario Place for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one person online. I'm slightly worried about, we need 6 as quorum. I just want to be, we're still okay. We have Anya Gorka online.
Hear me?
Yeah, can you speak? Yeah, go for it. Try for 3 minutes because we have 3 more speakers here and we will run past the 5:30 time.
Absolutely. I'll start my stopwatch. You can hear me all right off of this phone?
Yes, I can.
Well, that's amazing. I'm so far away. I wish I could see your faces. I want to earnestly thank 24 out of 25 councillors for doing so much and hearing Torontonians about this file and leveraging all the ideas you've got. I'd like to urge the speakers with reservations about the motion to accept it, because it would take a long time for the architects to come up with a new design development and go for permit. And we need to buy time during this day when a vanity project is highly inappropriate given the crises out there. I'm a mother. My name is Anya Gorka. I work as an architect and I do some translation work for an environmental assessment company called LGL Limited. And I have a little bit of insight about what an impartial environmental assessment from a third party really is. Now, when Trump created an EPA transition team, there was a fellow named Steve Milloy who was later fired, and all of the protections were reinstated. And this man got a job with Fox News where he could try to present opinions as facts. So in a time when we have leadership doing the same thing provincially, I can see your challenge. So I just encourage you to come stand with us when it is time to do so with Ontario Place for All. We need to be a community with our people hats on as well. I think you wouldn't be amiss to do that. We have an ecology that's doing a lot of work for us. New trees don't sequester carbon until they're 30 years old. There's no way we should use West Island. A little bit inland is a better kind of wrongness. I thought this hasn't been said before. Provincial park reservations have gone up to $52 at a base rate a night. Backcountry is $46. I tried to take my family to Crawford Lake. It was $48. And we're going into debt with food prices. As a renter, I used to be happy that the exorbitant rental rates without housing equity would at least contribute from corporate taxation to some of the services like TVO and Ontario Science Centre and Ontario Place. And now that's no longer the case. So we've really got to fight, because it's not your fault that some of these federal acts have been manipulated, and we're at where we're at. Just want to tell you to stay strong with my last 10 seconds here. And thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, all the best. Good luck.
All right, thank you. Casey Scott, can you do 2 or 3 minutes? Because we have 2 more speakers here. And that's 5 minutes. We will go past 5:30, which is going to be a problem. Casey Scott, you online? Going once, twice? Casey, are you there? Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Can I ask you to just do 2 or 3 minutes? That would be great.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. A lot has been said. I appreciate all the work that's going into it. I do agree that it's probably not the end game of the thermal. It is probably not a spot, probably is a casino. So I just agree with the previous speaker who said, let's look into that contract, the 95-year contract. And thank you, everybody, for working together to try and stop a really bad idea. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Max Beck, how are you? Thank you for coming over.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Old friend.
I am Max Beck, and first I just want to congratulate you on your first 100 days. You've done a wonderful job. I have a little bit of experience hanging around with mayors, and I'm very impressed. Anyway, I'll try to be very quick. I was the head of Ontario Place for most of the 1990s. It was suffering then. It had been going downhill. I helped revive it then. Unfortunately, it's gone the other way. First thing we did was we made it free to go to Ontario Place. It used to be a gate charge. And in referencing the very first woman that spoke, she said that she couldn't take her 3 children down there. Well, to the new proposed law. I still have a letter in my file at home of a woman that wrote me that saying every year she had to decide which one of her 3 children she'd take to Ontario Place, and thanking me so much for making it free, because then she was able to take all of her children down there. I don't know how we got so far off track. Ontario Place was originally set up to be something for the whole province. It was a showcase of Ontario talent and skills. First IMAX theater ever. Not much of it is left, but the first camera that IMAX ever made is still there. The Ebseiler architecture is absolutely fantastic, but I think it's not to argue that. What I want to mainly say, I'm in support of the motion, except I think that you should expand it and look for sites other than just the X. You should look all over the city as where there's an alternate place to go. I want to talk to you very specifically about 2 reasons why I don't think it'll work down there. And you don't want to be left with a white elephant. If that building is built and it doesn't work, we're all in a lot of trouble. The 2 elements I'd say are, one is lack of good transit access from there. Transit's close by. However, in the wintertime, if you try to get across from Ontario Place to there, you cannot do it safely. And when I was there, we used to have to drive, for about 4 months of the year, we'd have to drive our staff to transit and pick them up before work and drive them there after work, because it just wasn't safe. The wind and the weather can be so violent down there. It's incredible. Most people don't know that because nobody goes down there that time of year. It's really, really rough. People go down on nice days maybe, but there's a lot of days that aren't nice. I think it's really a health risk. The other thing is, we had a deal when I was there, a tentative deal with Ripley's to build the aquarium there, which I think would have been a fabulous place and a good year-round use, but it stumbled near the end on lack of access, and they backed out because they didn't feel it would work. Without people, I mean, it's going to go broke. I think it's. I just don't think they'll be able to drive enough people down there. It's easy enough in summer, but I don't know why people would want to necessarily go into a spa like that in the summer when you've got outdoor opportunities. The second point is really around the use of alcohol and drinking. Ontario Place in its heyday it did marvelously because they had restaurants and bars down there and you could drink on patios, and that was a huge, huge, huge part of the revenues and the activity down there. People used to remember George Cash that could drink a beer on his, while he was standing on his head. The attendance started to drop, and I got it up again, but it started to drop again once we built the amphitheater, and I started to worry about that. And we did a very major survey as to what was stopping people from going there. And basically, overwhelmingly, people said they weren't prepared to go to a place where they were drinking, where there wasn't the option of good transit to get home. And they were incredibly conscious of drinking. Our advertising saying don't drink and drive clearly was working. And the younger they were, the more they were conscious of that. I assume the province has made that kind of information available to Therme, but I think that it's going to, that will be a major factor to the extent that there is alcohol there. But, you know, they're going to need every body they can possibly get, and they don't need constraints. So I believe clearly there's a better place to put it in the city. I think the X made a good case that maybe not there, but I think there's better ways, places for it. And more importantly, I think there are much better ways to develop Ontario Place for all the residents of Ontario and as a major economic driver for the city of Toronto. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for that history. Yes. Good old Ontario Place. Last speaker, if you could make it a touch short, it'd be great. Jennifer Waterbury.
I don't know if that's going to work or not, but.
Oh, try it anyway. We can assist you. May I get someone to assist her? There it is. We can see it.
I know it's so small.
It works. Go for it. Please start. If not, we'll lose quorum.
Ani Bojo, Anishnakas, Mayenga, Kwe, Dolam, Mayenga. I'm here basically to say that I actually fully support Councillor Malik's idea, but then again, hearing your speech also, it makes me realize that that's totally the wrong spot also, because there's very little space left on the grounds at actual CNE grounds for anything, let alone the actual fair when that happens. My suggestion actually is that it can be thought about, and let's say it doesn't have to be in Toronto. I agree with that lady who was on the phone about by Woodbine. That would be great space. And also maybe the former Palladium site in Mississauga, because you're going to have the highway there. You're going to have Mississauga Transit. So I'm really hoping and praying that it can be really, really, really thought through. And just to let people know that that all four of our human needs can be met at Ontario Place. I'm in the physical, the spiritual, emotional, mental. I know full well myself because in November 21st, 2019, my partner had passed away. I miss him terribly, but seeing that beauty, even though it wasn't actually open as the original grounds, as a park, rides, that it didn't matter to me. I decided that was where I was going to put a huge portion of his ashes into the lake, because it was so peaceful and I just felt that ultimate beauty. And I really hope that I can continue my spiritual journey of healing, and that's not going to be taken away from me nor anybody else. Take it, put it somewhere else, but it doesn't belong here. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that experience. I can imagine how that feels. Thank you very much. Are there any other speaker on here? No? All right, Councillor Deputy Mayor Malik, any question to staff? Seeing no question to staff.
Thank you very
All
much.
yours.
I just have a couple of questions, and I guess first of all, thank you everyone who was so patient and here to have their voice heard and to depute. I just would really welcome staff just quickly summarizing for us the major issues that have been identified with the proposed thermal water spa and associated underground parking structure on our waterfront at Ontario Place, through your assessment and also through what we heard in the public engagement.
Staff?
Through the mayor, Dan Nicholson, City Planning. Staff have had opportunity to look at two proposals. Initial proposal in November of 2022 and a revised proposal just recently regarding the proposed redevelopment of Ontario Place. Our concerns have focused primarily on the proposed thermal water park. And it has to do with the scale of the proposed development, the impact on the island. We also have concerns about the proposed lake filling. The city's official plan calls for an environmental assessment for that work. That hasn't been provided. Staff have also expressed concerns about the proposed underground parking facility on the site, and those have been the major concerns raised by staff to date.
Thank you very much. I know your team has reviewed the recommendation for a preliminary feasibility assessment for an alternate location at Exhibition Place. Can you please outline the scope of this work and what it would include?
Through the mayor, the proposal, the evaluation of a proposed relocation of the Therma Spa to the Exhibition Place grounds would be a fairly high-level assessment. It would be conducted by staff. As per the Deputy Mayor's motion, it would focus on the content of the Exhibition Place strategic plan and the Phase 1 proposals report for the master plan. The master plan proposals report adopted by Council in September of 2020 is the first step of a comprehensive master plan, and it paves the road for the future of Exhibition Place. Its physical development sets out a series of guidelines, goals, objectives for the site. It was conducted by city staff and Exhibition Place staff. Don Boyle and his team worked very closely with city staff on that exercise. And we also consulted very significantly with the public and with the tenants at Exhibition Place, including the CNE and the Royal. So that plan, I believe, part of the purpose of that plan, part of it was to pave the way for integration with the future Ontario Place redevelopment, but it also is a basis for evaluating any proposed changes to Exhibition Place. So that document, recently approved by Council, provides us a good start on any evaluation for change, including the proposed relocation of the Therm facility.
Thank you very much. So just building on that, can you confirm that stakeholders will be consulted in this initial phase and that includes the CNEA? We heard some of the significant concerns around that.
We will be speaking to the CNE and also we'll try to pull in the Royal as well as two of the key tenants. The Deputy Mayor's motion also, of course, references the need for future consultation should there be any further discussions beyond the initial feasibility.
And my final question is just to be very clear, this preliminary feasibility assessment would solely provide information with which Council can use to give any further direction, including additional engagement and decision-making. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. It would be a preliminary feasibility study. It would not make any conclusions. It would be a fairly high-level analysis.
Thank you very much.
All yours to speak.
Thank you very much. I am moving the recommendation in my letter with one small amendment, specifically identifying the CNEA as a stakeholder for consultation. And I want to thank Councillor Ainsley for that. It did come up in our meeting of the Board of Governors also last week. And it's his proposal to have this friendly amendment. The board and staff of Exhibition Place and the city have consistently called for a collaborative and cooperative strategy for jointly planning the future of Ontario Place and Exhibition Place. As we heard today, these sites are so important for the life of the city, but also for our well-being, physical, mental, and otherwise. And although some actions have been taken in the past years that that call has become even more pressing, that integration and that collaboration be something that is prioritized. When the province of Ontario announced its intention to redevelop the Ontario Place site back in 2018, and we are at a crucial decision-making period for both of these important public spaces that are fundamentally connected as critical destinations and gateways to our waterfront. And through the city's robust development application process and what we were able to hear from staff today, both the public and the city staff have expressed serious concerns about the proposed Therme Spa and Water Park on our waterfront. Its scale, impact on heritage landscape, relation to the public realm, and enormous new underground parking structure have yet to be addressed and haven't shown that it belongs on our waterfront. As this process has unfolded, alternative sites for the water park and spa were suggested, including Exhibition Place grounds, and I believe this alternative is worth considering as an improved site for the water park and spa with benefits to Exhibition Place potentially. As a first step, I'm asking the Executive Committee to request a preliminary feasibility assessment by city staff for this option. This study would be a first step to test the preliminary feasibility of this water park and spa, verify any major operational, leasing, and transportation issues, and of course, to ensure that we are upholding and considering with integrity the master plan, the phase 1 developments, and all the considerations of the various tenants on the site. As underlined in my letter, any consideration would need to align with these important documents. It has to consider the core uses, the tenancies, and the events that make up Exhibition Place, and most especially the CNE. Through conversations with Exhibition Place's CEO and city staff, I've heard their support for this preliminary feasibility assessment. As well, I presented this request to the Board of Governors of Exhibition Place at our meeting on Friday, and they provided their formal endorsement, and I asked for the support of the Executive Committee on this request. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Morley.
Madam Mayor, hope you can hear me.
Yes.
I apologize for the connectivity issue, but I did have a question of staff that I wanted to pick up on one of the deputants, just related to the status of the project there on Ontario Place, because we have seen in recent weeks, I don't know how recently it came up, but there's significant hoarding blocking sightlines to the site, and just wondering if there is in fact work that is underway and if permits have been granted for that work to be started.
City staff, planning staff.
Through the mayor, so the province has started some building stabilization and conservation work, and they're also preparing for site servicing.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Do you want to speak? Councillor Molly, did you want to speak?
In support.
Go ahead.
I just want to thank my colleague, Deputy Mayor Malik, for her ongoing leadership on this file. I think we've heard very loud and clear from Torontonians about the need for deeper consultation and a better solution, because the proposal before us and the vision that the province has is aggressively moving forward is not in keeping with what's best for our city. So I support this motion and thank her for her leadership.
Thank you. Any other speaker? No? Okay. Motion. Deputy Mayor Malik's motion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carry. Unanimous. That is the last item. Well done. Thank you so much.